Makers passed bill that could phase out gas car sales by 2030. Wow. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of opinions about that. This is published on April 19th, 2021 by Kiro 7 News staff. Washington state lawmakers passed a bill Thursday aimed at stopping the sale of gasoline-fueled vehicles statewide starting in 2030. It signed into law. The bill would make Washington the first state to end the sale of new gas cars. California and Massachusetts have passed similar laws that would take effect by 2035. The ban would apply to publicly owned and privately owned passenger and light-duty vehicles of model year 2030 or later that are sold, purchased, or registered in Washington state be electric vehicles. So they're not saying that they're banning people from owning vehicles that are made before 2030. What they're saying is anything that's brought after that in Washington state has to be electric vehicles. Now, you can't even register that vehicle. You can't register that vehicle unless it's an electric vehicle, which could pose some issues if there's not a grandfather clause. Basically, if I own this vehicle and if electric vehicles are not made more affordable by the time 2030 comes along, which is, by the way, only 9 years from now, less than a decade from now. Electric cars are not cheap. Most of your electric cars are not cheap. Your Teslas are not cheap, man. You gotta think about people who are disadvantaged, who don't have money to buy an electric vehicle, who may just want to go out there and buy a freaking car. When you couple that with the problems that we're having with the semiconductors, you know, the freaking chips that actually go inside the cars, which is why the rental car prices are freaking through the freaking roof now. Try to go and rent a car right now. See how expensive that is right now. They're only gonna make this worse by requiring people who might be so poor, who might be able to actually afford, you know, gas-powered vehicles. They're gonna limit that person even further and thus cause the gap between the have and the freaking have-nots to be even wider. And then what even makes this worse is that they are also going to punish the small businesses, you know, the mom and pop gas stations who are selling this freaking gasoline, because that actually draws them in money. Not every gas station, I would freaking guess most gas stations in the state of Washington don't have a fitting for electric cars. So what are they gonna do now? You've made cigarettes so freaking expensive. You are increasing the prices on freaking alcohol. You're increasing freaking taxes on just basic, you know, things like milk and candy and food and soda and water and everything else. Everything that gas stations sell, you are shutting those businesses out right now. If you are a state lawmaker and you are watching this video, you are killing businesses right now. I want you to know that. It passed by a vote of 25 to 23 in the Senate and 54 to 43 in the House, and now heads to Governor Jay Inslee's desk for signature. The bill is contingent on the state adopting a tax on vehicle miles traveled, which would help fund the new infrastructure according to the bill. So you want to tax on vehicles miles traveled. Wow. So if you are like an Uber driver, you're screwed. You just destroyed Uber drivers. If you are an Uber or Lyft driver, you are done. They just killed your freaking ability to make money. They just destroyed your ability to make money. That's ridiculous. The legislation was first introduced by Representative Nicole Macri, Democrat from Seattle, as HB 1204. It's the first gasoline phase-out target to make it through the legislative process. Passage of this legislation takes the guesswork and uncertainty out of the electric vehicle transition by creating a clear timeline with the data, tools, and guidelines we need to help businesses, developers, governments, and consumers plan with confidence. Senator Marco Liaz, Democrat from Linwood, said in a press release. Clean Cars 2030 is a critical step to meet urgent carbon reduction goals here in Washington and can serve as a model and impetus for other states to accelerate the switch to electric vehicles. The legislation coincides with accelerated efforts by the auto industry to move away from gas-fueled vehicles. GM plans to sell zero-emissions vehicles by 2035, while Ford says it will only sell electric vehicles in Europe by 2030. Once again, I have an issue with this overall, though. If you are a local lawmaker here, and I live in Washington State, I want you to know you are killing jobs, man. I mean, I understand that you mean well. You mean well, and that's why I'm not being harsh on you. You mean well. I get it. You mean well. You're not being monsters by doing this. You believe that you're helping people by doing this and that you are saving the planet. You mean well. I want you to understand transitions from one industry to a completely different one. That is not only not smooth typically, but if you're not under an emergency situation, it doesn't give the fierce urgency of now, as MLK would actually put it. So that gives people the cachet and the freaking audacity to take their time. And while they're taking their time, businesses are gonna suffer. The mom and pop shops are gonna suffer. It doesn't matter how well you mean. That's gonna happen if you do this. I want people to understand the freaking assault on the freaking American business. It's gotta stop, man. You guys are just beating the American business to death by pushing forth these freaking bills, benevolent or authoritarian. If the results are the same, then the results are the same.